My name's Mark, and you're listening to Headstraight. Hello, you lot, and welcome back. So, you've made it to the end of this season. And before we move on, I want to pause here for a second, not to recap over everything that we've done, but just to take a proper look at where you are now. Because this season wasn't about learning loads of new things. It was about seeing things differently. When we started, we were at a very specific point. That place where something feels off, but you can't fully explain it. You're doing the things, keeping things going, handling your life. But underneath that, there's this sense that you're not fully settled in it. Not fully sure. Not fully clear. Not fully connected to it. And that's where we began. And from there, you've worked through a lot. Not by fixing everything, but by understanding it. You've looked at pressure and how it builds in the background even when nothing's going wrong. You've seen how responsibility doesn't suddenly make you feel certain. It just puts you in a situation where you have to figure things out as you go. You've faced the reality that sometimes things hit harder than you expected and you can't just push your way through it. You've noticed how relationships around you shift as you change, even when nothing's clearly broken. You stepped back from the constant noise and seen what it was doing to your head. And then you created a bit of space. And in that space, you started asking a different question. Not, how do I keep up with everything? But, what actually fits me? And that's the shift that this season was about. Not becoming a different person, but becoming more aware of who you already are. Because when you started, a lot of things were just happening around you. Pressure, expectations, decisions, reactions. And you were in it, but not fully in control of it. Now, well, there's more awareness. You notice things quicker. You question things more. You don't just go along with things automatically. And that might not feel like a big change, but it is. Because that's where control actually starts. Not in having everything sorted, but in being able to see what's going on whilst you're in it. So where does that leave you? Well, not at the finish line, but in a much better place than you were when you started. You've got more clarity about what affects you, what matters to you, what doesn't sit right anymore. And that clarity can feel really quite uncomfortable at times. Because once you start to see things clearly, you can't really ignore them in the same way that you used to. But this is also what gives you direction. Because now, you're not just reacting to your life, you're starting to shape it, even in those small ways. So, if you take anything from this season, let it be this. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to get it right all the time. You don't need to suddenly feel certain. What you need is enough awareness to start making choices that actually fit you. And those choices don't need to be big. They just need to be honest. What you keep saying yes to. What you start saying no to. What you give your time to. What you start letting go of. Because that's how this works. Not in big turning points. In small decisions that you actually follow through on. So, before you move on from this, just take a second. Look at where you were when this started. And take a look at where you are now. Not in terms of outcomes, but in how you think. What you notice. What you question. What you're starting to choose. Because that's where the change is. And this doesn't stop here. This isn't something that you finish. This is something that you carry forward. into your decisions, into your relationships, into how you build your life from here. So, I'm going to leave you with this. You don't need to build a life that looks right, but one that feels like yours. And with that, I'll see you next time.